Welcome to PH Insight. Know the force behind the flag. Whether it's warships, fighter jets, or the next big defense move, if it matters to Philippine security, it's here. As maritime flashpoints intensify in the Indo-Pacific, the Philippines finds itself at the crossroads of strategy, security, and sovereignty. Amid rising tensions in the West Philippine Sea, the country is turning to a close regional partner, Japan, for a high-speed, heavily armed solution. The prospective acquisition of Japan's Hayabusa-Class missile boats by the Philippine Navy is not only a defense upgrade, it could be a transformative shift in how the country secures its contested waters. The Hayabusa-Class, named after the peregrine falcon, is a fast attack craft platform that exemplifies speed, agility, and firepower. Originally built for the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, JMSDF, these vessels were designed for coastal combat and rapid response missions. Now, with discussions underway for a possible transfer, they may soon sail under the Philippine flag. This development is more than just about acquiring ships, it's about redefining the country's maritime strategy in one of the world's most contested seas. The Hayabusa-class fast attack craft is a product of Japan's post-Cold War naval modernization program. Introduced in the early 2000s, these vessels were designed to replace the older PG-1 class hydrofoils. The JMSDF built 6 Hayabusa-class boats, each intended to patrol Japan's extensive coastline and defend against fast-approaching surface threats. Despite their compact frame, just 50 meters in length and displacing 200 tons, the Hayabusa-class ships are heavily armed. Each boat is equipped with 2 twin launchers for the Type 90 SSM-1B anti-ship missiles, which have a range of over 150 kilometers and are capable of precision strikes. A 76mm Oto Malara super rapid gun, effective against both air and surface targets. 2 12.7mm M2 Browning machine guns for close-in defense. A sophisticated tactical data link system, the OIQ-8B, allowing seamless data sharing across fleets and platforms. What sets these boats apart is their speed and agility. Powered by 3 gas turbine engines, each Hayabusa-class vessel can reach speeds of 44 knots, 81 km per hour, fast enough to outrun most patrol boats and intercept targets with minimal warning. In an archipelagic country like the Philippines, where quick response and mobility are vital, these capabilities are game changers. The potential transfer of these vessels comes at a critical time. The West Philippine Sea, long a flashpoint between the Philippines and China, continues to see rising incidents of coercion, gray zone tactics, and the aggressive presence of Chinese maritime militia vessels. The Philippine Navy, despite modernization efforts, has historically lacked platforms that can respond swiftly to fast-evolving situations at sea. In this context, the Hayabusa-class offers a solution to some of the Philippine Navy's most pressing operational gaps. Rapid deployment from strategic coastal locations like Palawan, Zambales, or Subic. Interception of unauthorized foreign vessels conducting illegal activities or maritime intrusions. Support for maritime law enforcement, especially in contested zones. Quick reaction to gray zone incidents, such as water cannon attacks or blockades. Their relatively small crew size, just 21 sailors per vessel, also makes them cost-efficient and easier to maintain compared to larger frigates or corvettes. The Philippine Navy's interest in the Hayabusa class reflects more than tactical needs, it reveals deepening defense ties with Japan, a fellow democracy and maritime nation increasingly assertive in regional security matters. In recent years, Japan has become one of the Philippines' most consistent defense partners. Tokyo has delivered 10 44-meter patrol vessels to the Philippine Coast Guard, provided humanitarian assistance, and trained hundreds of Filipino naval and Coast Guard officers. But if the Hayabusa deal is finalized, it will mark the first time Japan transfers combat-capable warships to the Philippines, crossing a new threshold in bilateral defense cooperation. This move aligns with Japan's evolving security posture. Once bound by pacifist constraints, Japan has been slowly expanding its defense export capacity. While its arms export laws still prohibit the transfer of complete weapons systems, including the SSM-1B missiles, Japan's willingness to offer high-performance naval platforms is symbolic of its support for like-minded nations in the Indo-Pacific. For the Philippines, this is not just about acquiring ships, it's about strengthening alliances in an increasingly polarized region. Next month, a Philippine Navy technical team is scheduled to travel to Japan to inspect the Hayabusa-Class vessels, along with the Abikuma-Class general-purpose destroyer escorts. This is more than a formality. The Navy will evaluate hull and structural integrity, propulsion systems condition, combat systems operability, compatibility with Philippine Navy logistics, spare parts availability and long-term maintenance costs. Japan's JMSDF maintains high standards of vessel upkeep, and while the Hayabusa-class ships are aging, they remain highly operational. However, key decisions will hinge on cost-benefit analysis, especially since the SSM-1B missiles will be removed prior to transfer due to Japanese law. A critical challenge will be how to rearm the vessels. Without their original missiles, the boats will arrive as high-speed gun platforms. But if rearmed with a modern anti-ship missile, such as the Israeli Sea Serpent, South Korean Sea Star, or even a locally adapted system, they could regain their intended role as naval strike assets. Defense analysts suggest several pathways. 1. Integration with BrahMos or similar systems, though these are larger and may not be compatible with the boat's size. 2. Use of lighter missile systems designed for smaller platforms, possibly even ship-launched drones or loitering munitions. 3. Collaboration with Japan or other allies for integration assistance, software upgrades, and sensor recalibration. The Philippine Navy has experience integrating foreign weapons into older platforms, as seen in the modernization of Jacinto-class corvettes. Still, any integration effort would require time, funding, and extensive testing. Beyond weapon systems, the very presence of Hayabusa-class vessels in Philippine waters would send a clear strategic message to allies, adversaries, and the Filipino people. These boats represent a willingness to respond swiftly to maritime threats, closer ties with Japan, and by extension the US and Australia, a more distributed and resilient fleet structure, where smaller units can cover large areas with speed. In potential conflict scenarios, whether involving territorial disputes, joint operations with allies, or humanitarian missions, the Hayabusa-class boats would provide frontline capability and rapid reaction force. Following the inspection, the Philippine Department of National Defense is expected to conduct a full review of the technical findings and cost implications. Final decisions on the transfer could be made before the end of 2025. If approved, delivery could begin as early as 2026 or 2027, with initial deployments likely focused on maritime domain awareness, sovereignty patrols, and interdiction missions. Training programs for Filipino crews will likely be held in Japan or in-country, possibly in coordination with the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JITSA. The Hayabusa class is more than a platform, it's a symbol. It represents the convergence of strategic necessity, regional partnerships, and technological opportunity. As the Philippines continues to modernize its naval forces amid an uncertain maritime environment, these sleek missile boats could be at the vanguard of a new, agile doctrine. They may be small, but in the game of naval strategy, speed and timing often beat brute force. And in the hands of the Philippine Navy, these falcons of the sea may just prove to be the decisive edge the country needs to defend its waters. They may be small, but in the game of naval strategy, speed and timing often beat brute force. And in the hands of the Philippine Navy, these falcons of the sea may just prove to be the decisive edge the country needs to defend its waters.